Welcome to VRIC Media, the most trusted voice in the metals and the mining sector. My guest today is Jim McDonald, the CEO of Kootenay Silver, a multi-project silver developer that has discovered over 150 million ounces of silver and counting. Now, Jim previously took Alamos Gold from discovery to commercial production, producing over 1 million ounces of gold before he stepped off the board. And today we're going to look at Kootenay's maiden resource at their Columba project in Mexico, which adds another 54 million ounces of high-grade silver to their ounce count. They've recently upsized the financing from 12 million to over 17 million and intend on putting that cash to work to expand their deposits further. Here is CEO Jim McDonald. Enjoy.
This is Jay Martin.
All right, here I am with Jim McDonald, the CEO of Kootenay Silver. Jim, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Jay. Pleased to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you. And there's a handful of different directions that I want to go, but I want to just start getting your thoughts on the precious metal sector. You've been in this business a long time. You founded a company, founded Discovery, got it financed, taken it to production, founder of National Gold, which you merged with Alamos. That was early 2000s, right? And I think like first pour was like 2005.
Yeah, I was director on the board.
Okay, got it.
Co-founder, but and I did leave in 2012, and we were doing 200,000 ounces a year.
Yeah. Okay. So and that's the context, right? We're now in a market that seems to be getting some tailwinds. We've had a few false starts over the last 10 years, and this market seems to have legs. The precious metals prices have been rising sustainably. The best-in-class miners are all at or close to all-time highs, and the capital seems to be flowing back to the mid-tier producers, the junior producers. Like the cycle seems to be unfolding in a manner that's very bullish. How do you interpret the precious metals market today, Jim, given your experience in the sector? What are you paying the most attention to? What's like front and center for you right now?
Well, we've seen this coming for some time, and for market watchers and people like us who've got experience through a few cycles, it can be very frustrating because you don't know the time frame in which it unfolds. You just know what's going to happen. And you were referencing my earlier days with National Gold and then which became Alamos Gold eventually. We purchased a gold deposit from Placer Dome and Kennecott at the very bottom of the gold precious metal market in December 2000. Gold was $280. They transferred the title to us against debentures that we had to pay for $50,000 down. Unbelievable. There's a feasibility on 2.2 million ounces of gold. There's 4 million ounces plus of resource. It was out of the money. It needed 325, 350 gold. It was 280. It immediately went to 265, the gold price. Nobody wanted to finance it. The long and short of it, John McCluskey stepped in and did that for us. And we created that company. But during that time, I'd never seen sentiment so negative on precious metals. It was unbelievable. Analysts were coming out and saying gold was going to buck 160. And we didn't believe that. We knew it was going to turn around, but we didn't know when. And so we're in a similar situation today. I mean, now it has turned. Right? Gold turned some time ago. Silver's just turning now. I mean, you could say silver had its turn a year ago, did its first pretty big move, like from low 20s to low 30s, and now it's making its next leg up. And that formation is wonderful on that silver chart. And it's trying to get through that 37 and change barrier, and when it does, it'll charge through 40. And then once it does that, it's basically on its way through finally going through the old highs. And so you see that time and again in the precious metal cycle, and also the formation of it. We feel like this is a market more like if you look in the past, like 2000 and it'd be more similar to 2003, 2004, where we're at. Uh, when we entered a bull run in the precious metals, it was nearly 10 years long.
Mm.
And so that's what it feels like to me.
Can I ask you, I want to pull on that thread, like what are the parallels that you see in today's market relative to 2003, 2004? Because yeah, anybody who's watching my channel, if you're new, you may not be familiar, but that preceded one of the most epic bull market runs in the precious metals ever. If you've been watching my stuff for a while, you're probably well aware of that. But what do you see today, Jim, that reminds you of those years specifically? Or this stage of the market, I suppose.
Well, the macro fundamentals are set up so well for the precious metals now. It's incredible.
Hmm.
And that was the same back then as it is now. And I think the other thing that's quite similar to me is just the sort of the long setup of the silver price and building bullishness that you saw at that time. I mean, you came off just like now. We peaked in around 2012, a little bit of a respite in 2016, and then we were basically in a down market.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, with a bottom building probably starting in close to 2019 or thereabouts. And then you could see that bottom forming in the build start. And of course, gold is charged well ahead of silver. And that's another thing. Silver ratio, I'd have to go back that far to see what that ratio was, but it's historically at a whack. Until just the last week, it was over 100 gold to silver ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Median is down around 60. And at the peak of the last precious metal market, that ratio is down around 30.
Mm-hmm.
And we expect to see that again. We think that's going to repeat. And so the setup is very similar. It's just the history of and what's driving silver and gold right now is not a temporary spike. This looks to us very much like that 204, where we're in for a few years of a real strong silver market.
And was your decision to build a silver company today, because you built a gold producer as your last sort of full-time project. I know you've been involved in many companies along the way, but was it intentionally silver, or were you just looking at projects, looking at gold, looking at silver, and Columba caught your eye? Like, talk to me about the decision-making process.
We started the company many years ago as prospecting venture. And we quickly went to Mexico with our introduction to Mexico and how incredible it was for opportunity and discovery potential. And quite frankly, and some people may remember, we started out looking for a gold deposit and we found a silver deposit. That was our first strike. So we became Kootenay Silver instead of Kootenay Gold. And then since then, we've made 3 discoveries of our own, including Columba, and we acquired another discovery when we acquired North Air Silver in 2016. So we've actually got 4 discoveries under our belt now, with Columba being the very latest one and best to date.
Yeah. Okay. And so you recently just put out your maiden resource estimate, 54 million ounces of silver. And on the heels of this, you're raising some capital. I think you just upsized your financing up to just over 17 million. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. So for somebody who's just walking into this fresh, anybody who's watching this video and they're unfamiliar at all with Kootenay Silver, could you walk them through the high level overview? And then I want to dive into some details here.
Yeah. So with Kootenay Silver, we just put out that new resource. That's a new discovery. It's actually the discovery of a new vein district in Mexico. And we'd already had 3 different deposits with 43-101 estimates on them that gave us a huge silver in the ground bank. 214 million ounces silver equivalent in the M&I, and then another nearly 55 million in the inferred category. And when you looked at just the silver component of that, up around 160 million ounces plus silver alone. And now this new resource, this new discovery,
Hmm.
just on the main resource, which is wide open to expansion, we believe it's going to get a whole bunch bigger. And it adds another 54 million ounces right there with tremendous upside. And what's important about it is it's high grade. We got wide veins and it's wide open to expansion. And it really hasn't been eroded either. So it's almost perfectly preserved as it was deposited with a erosional low that's barely exposing the productive part of those veins. So whatever was deposited here originally is still sitting there. Geologically, it's like a candy store for geologists. It's just a classic preserved example of these epithermal vein deposits that are so common in Mexico.
Yeah. Okay. And when you say high grade, I think for Columba, the average grade was around 284 grams per ton. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And that's using 150-gram cutoff.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
the kind of cutoff that you would use in a mining scenario. So it's a very realistic cutoff to use. And there's a substantial high grade, you could call it core to that, high grade portion of that. When you go to 250-gram cutoff, which is quite a bit higher cutoff, you still have 34 million ounces at almost 400 grams per ton.
Mm.
Really, really good numbers and very great continuity along the veins with grade and structure. Very a very excellent continuity, which is also another very big positive.
So walk me through the schedule and the plan with the capital you're raising right now. I think it's 17.4 million or very close to that. Yes. What's the plan to allocate the capital? Where will the focus be, Jim?
Drilling.
Yeah, good, good.
And so the zones are all wide open. Every one of the resource blocks, well, not every one of the blocks, but every one of the veins with a resource in it is open to expansion, either along strike, along this direction,
Hmm.
or in the dip direction, or both.
Okay.
So the edges of these zones are not defined at all. It's really low hanging fruit for the first approximately 30,000 meters of drilling. Is just keep stepping out and keep going till you find the edges. And
Mhm.
and then there's a bunch of veins with a handful of holes or several holes in them with good hits that have yet to be followed up. And then there's structures that haven't even had a drill hole yet. So the priority is just keep expanding what we know is there. That's very high probability hits, low hanging fruit. We've drilled for this resource, we had 53,000 meters of drilling across the whole property in over 211 holes. So now we've got designed another 50,000 meters. So basically doubling what we've done.
Okay.
And this financing will allow us to embark on that program.
Okay. Those are very big programs. And that's the best answer ever. Where's the money going to go? Into the ground. And so just to clarify, the focus will be on expansion drilling and on resource conversion as well with Columba specifically, or walk me through that thought process.
Yeah, with the objective and the focus on expanding the size of the resource.
Yeah.
So we're not going to embark on infill to
Okay. Okay.
advance to indicated or measured. We already know it's there. You have to do the infill to increase the confidence. That can come later. We want to build the size and get the size to the stage where we can say, all right, now we've got enough ounces there to justify going into a preliminary economic assessment.
Yes. Got it. Okay. Okay. Now walk me through jurisdiction in Mexico. You've been there a while. How can investors interpret political risk or favor? Rich mining history, obviously, but what can you share in that regard, Jim?
Yeah, Mexico's fabulous history, over 500 years of mining history. So incredible infrastructure in terms of human expertise, the engineers, the metallurgists, the geologists, the miners, and so on and so forth. Also, the database that's available publicly through the government of maps, geologic maps, and geochemical targets, geophysics, all that is really strong. It's a great place to start from. Then politically, there's been a big improvement over the last administration. The last administration being somewhat antagonistic towards the industry. And this administration is a lot more positive and a lot more practical. There's been tangible things done already, and we hear about things that are yet to come. And so it's a much improved environment that way. We're in Chihuahua State with Columba, which is one of the best states to be in. We've got all our drill permits, got our land access agreements in place. We're all ready to go. And so close this financing, move the drills on, and start turning.
Now, what do you attribute whenever you upsize a financing? It's obviously positive, but what do you attribute the momentum to right now? When you're telling the Kootenay Silver story to prospective shareholders, what's the point in the journey where the eyebrows go up for the investor, Jim? What's the catalyst that you find is resonating the most right now with the market?
Well, this maiden resource, I think, opened a lot of eyes. We got a tremendous amount of incoming calls and emails. Very positive, very impressed with that maiden number. And so that really opened a lot of eyes. And people have been watching and waiting for that for some time because they've seen the drill results we've been pulling. Like some of these zones are incredible when you're getting nearly 10 meters of 1,700 grams per ton silver and hits like that, 98 meters over 200 grams in another hole. So there was a lot of expectation here, and obviously we met that expectation. Then combine that with some fortunate timing with the silver price movement and starting to break out of its trade bound and come to the upside again. So those two things came together at the same time, created a lot of momentum. Went out with a $12 million bought deal, hugely oversubscribed, upsized it, was still oversubscribed. And so sometimes you get lucky.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, no doubt. And if you were to walk me through sort of next like 12 months of news flow that prospective investors could expect from you, what are we looking at?
It's going to be pretty much all about the drilling, continue drilling. At the end of 12 months, we'll have, we will have done between 30,000 to 50,000 meters of drilling. And hoping that after 30,000 meters, we can do a resource update.
Okay.
But the long and short is drill, resource update, assess at that point if you want to go to a PEA or continue drilling more.
Yeah. Okay. Look, Jim, I appreciate coming on the show today and getting the Kootenay Silver story in front of the audience. I think the timing is going to make me look really smart, given what's where we're at with the market, but what you're doing with the company. Congratulations on the new maiden resource at Columba and increasing the ounce count for the company. And it's such as I share with my audience all the time, when you see a raise of material amount, right? So 17 million, that's a number that can change the value of the company materially. It's enough to get a lot of work done, right? And you're putting that cash to work with a very large drill program. Inside of 12 months, we should see 30 to 50,000 meters drilled, more results, moving towards a PEA, continuing to upgrade the resource if we can. And I want to get you back on for an update a few months down the road after a bit more work's been done.
Yeah, looking forward to that. That'd be great, Jay.
Yeah, pleasure's all mine, Jim. Thanks again for coming on today.
Thank you.